Sustainability is an area that has been growing within SETAC with an acknowledgement that environmental sustainability is an area that needs some underpinnings of information. And so trying to understand from the environmental toxicology and chemistry arena, what can we bring to that dialogue and that discussion?
We're here in the Pacific Northwest. There are a lot of questions about preliminary results about the effects of low level of copper from dispersed applications of copper, for instance in the dust from brake pads, where copper is the metal in semi-metallic automobile brake pads.
When you hit your brakes in your car, you're eroding the brake pad a little bit. And those brake pads are composed in part of copper. Therefore, there's a little bit of copper particle that's going onto the roadway, and when it rains, those particles can be washed into the streams. That increases the copper concentration in the streams. But again, you have to keep in perspective that it's not an absolute amount of copper that causes this problem. It depends on the water chemistry of the stream. And the more of these complexing factors in the water, the more copper can be in the stream without adversely affecting the fish.
One of the things that CDA does certainly support is safety. And anyone who's driving a car, we don't want to substitute something that's going to put human lives at risk. So obviously we want to be environmentally responsible and not have brake dust going off onto roads and into parking lots, but at the same time we want to make sure whatever the alternative is, number one, it doesn't create another problem, because the previous one, asbestos, was creating problems, and that's why they switched over to copper. And certainly the new one that they do end up coming up with, we hope will be one that we won't have to look at replacing for many decades.
So that's what we did. We did the calculations to show that the criteria were protective in these laboratory experiments with a wide variety of water chemistry conditions. Didn't matter what the water chemistry was, the criteria still protected against these olfactory effects.
Everything can be toxic if you have enough of it, from water to table salt to anything. So it's just how much is too much. Is it different for different organisms? Yes. It's different for different people. It's different for different age people. But just the fact that it's copper and the fact that it's in the environment isn't necessarily bad.
And if there's ways to reduce the environmental exposure of copper, especially copper that's not serving a useful purpose, and that's one we would certainly encourage our customers and our members to take.
Sustainability means maintaining our options for future generations so that we don't constrain our children or grandchildren to certain ways of having to live, to certain ways of having to be in our environment, but allow them to have a lot of the same types of freedom to operate almost in the same ways that we do, but keeping an eye on the fact that we only have one planet.